Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we talk about EB5 Green Card Investor Program to USA. It is one of the most talked about programs for investors, businessmen, senior executives, and for that matter, even young men who want to make US their home by investing certain identified funds into identified areas and businesses and a new commercial enterprise in USA. EB5 is essentially an investment based conditional resident visa that is issued for 2 years, and it's offered by US government to an investor. If he is married, the investor is married. I may say it's not a must that investor is married. If the investor is married, then to his spouse and dependent children below 21 years. This program in operation close more than 2 decades, but has become more popular of late. Earlier it used to be extended by an year, but looking at overall popularity of the program and the impact that the program was having on good impact I may had on US economy and the creation of jobs, in September 2012 this particular program, EB5 Investor Green Card Visa, was extended for 3 years, and thus there's more certainty and confidence attached to this program, and thereby investors can go ahead and invest into this visa program with confidence. Normally, an EB5 investor must invest an amount of USD 1 million or 10 lakh or dollars in a new commercial enterprise. If the amount is being invested in a targeted employment area, which essentially means in rural area or high unemployment area in USA, in that particular case the investment required is $500,000. Normally one can do this investment either directly or even through a USICS, that's United States Immigration Services approved regional center. If one is investing through a regional center, one has an advantage that jobs created directly or indirectly through the investment can be taken credit for. But whereas when one is investing in a direct investment, whereby the investor says that I'm going to have my own business and I'm going to manage my own business by investing $1 million or 10 lakh dollars into a new commercial enterprise, in that particular case only the direct jobs that are created by that particular business can be counted. So this particular program has validity of 2 years, and just 21 months after the visa has been issued, and prior to expiry of 24 months, in month 21 or around 90 days before the expiry of the visa, the holder must submit the evidence. So if he did direct investment, then that he created 10 direct jobs at least, or if he invested through a regional center or invested in a targeted employment area, in that particular case 10 direct or indirect jobs have been created. So if the holder can prove that either 10 jobs have been maintained or created or will be created within a reasonable period of time, the condition attached to his green card is waived off, and in that particular case the person can proceed ahead with having an absolutely unconditional green. Not everybody can just go ahead and invest in an EB5 investor program. There are indeed some eligibility conditions attached. If somebody is to really make an application under an investor program, one should be to start with at least 18 years old. The person should not have any criminal record, should not have had any past fraudulent visa related records, and ideally only an individual who is having a minimum net worth, that's a market value of his assets, property or otherwise, or even for that matter with partner, at least $1 million or more can qualify to make an application under EB5 program. One can even be eligible to make an application under EB5 program if his or her annual income exceeds at least USD $200,000 during at least last 2 years, or if married or having a partner, at least a joint income of $300,000 for last 2 years jointly with spouse or partner. even in that case, one can make an application under EB5 investor program. The person, the person who is really interested in making an application under EB5 program should be able to prove that he has earned the claimed net worth through lawful sources. That's very, very important. And even otherwise, after when he applies, uses those funds to make an investment into the EB5 investor program, those funds should be transferred using a legitimate financial intermediary or banking means. So these are very, very critical conditions attached to this program. The person should know that at any point of time that his money, the investment that he is doing is at risk, and the person should also be involved at any point of time after the investment is made. Until the time the condition is not removed, the person should be able to prove that at least at the policy level he is involved in making, at the decision making level, at least for policies in running that commercial enterprise, he has an involvement. So these are in summary some of the eligibility conditions for anybody who is interested in making taking a green card under EB5 investor program. To summarize, have a minimum net worth of $1 million or otherwise at least $200,000 earned during last 2 years, or jointly with spouse $300,000 during last at least last 2 years. The fund should be transferred through legitimate means. The net worth should have been earned through lawful sources. The person should be above 18 years, and the money is always at risk. The person should ensure that the commercial enterprise in which he or she invests in, the money is at risk. And these are in summary some of the important conditions. The EB5 investor green card carries a lot of benefits, and that's the reason why this is such an attractive program. First, to start with, though it's conditional in nature, the rights of a conditional green card holder EB5 under the EB5 visa are same as that of a permanent green card holder. So there is no difference, and that's very important to really understand. An EB5 visa holder can live, work, or do business in any part of USA. That's a tremendous advantage, because let's say you go through the regional center route, you invest $500,000. It's invested, and you get your conditions waived subsequently, or even before the conditions are waived. The regional center may be in a rural or targeted employment area, but you could be during the same period, even before the conditions are attached, you could be living or working. And that's important to understand, that you can even work while being on EB5 conditional green card visa, a privilege that's not associated with most of the other visa categories, in which one can only do what one is permitted to do under that particular visa category. So that's a huge advantage to an EB5 visa holder, that he can live, work, or do business in any part of the USA. If one wants to work, there is no employment authorization required to the EB5 visa holder for him and his co-applicants. And the dependent children below 21 years who are part of the application are entitled to all the benefits. For example, study benefits. As you know, if one goes as an international student to study in USA, the fee is very high. But as a green card holder, the fee is highly subsidized for the same course, same university, same class, and one can even apply for scholarships. One is a green card holder. So those benefits can be taken advantage of by the dependent children of the EB5. So not only this, like I mentioned earlier, a conditional green card holder EB5 visa carries almost all the rights. A permanent green card holder, there is no difference between the two of them in terms of rights that one enjoys. And one can even sponsor blood relations for green cards, even while being on EB5 green card investor visa. Finally, and that's a huge benefit. An EB5 card holder can apply for USA citizenship after being on PR status for more than 5 years. So in nutshell, If you get the EB5 visa, for all practical purposes, you are into USA and with a legitimate status. All that you need to do is prove and remove the condition after 21 months, and you are, for all practical purposes, a US green card holder. And that brings us to the next stage of important decision making stage of EB5 process. What happens is this, that you need to decide, like I mentioned earlier, you have two options of investing. Either you invest into a direct business, make direct investment into an American business, and that's $1 million, and or alternatively you make an investment of $500,000 through a regional center. And majority, going by records, 95% of all EB5 visa applications, 95% or more, have been filed through regional center route. So it's important to note really, or know about the regional center route of EB5 investor program. By definition, a regional center is any for-profit economic unit, public or private, that's engaged in promotion of economic growth, improved regional productivity, job creation, and increased domestic capital investment in the United States of America. So practically speaking, it's a business entity that's created for the purpose of regional economic development of a particular state area or targeted employment area in United States of America. And such an entity should lead to a job creation, increased job creation, or promotion of economic growth in that particular area, and thereby in United States of America. It's a responsibility, and that's very important to understand. When you do direct investment, it's your responsibility to create those 10 jobs. But when you invest into regional center, it becomes the responsibility of the regional center to create those 10 jobs that are mandated by and the requirements of EB5 investor program. The other advantage, when you invest into EB5 program through regional center, you have a huge advantage, because the management, day-to-day activities, the day-to-day running of operations of the regional center, that responsibility of that lies with the management of the regional center and not with you. That basically frees you to do anything else that you wish to do with a very limited kind of exposure in terms of the investment that you have done. So regional center route is indeed a preferred mode when it comes to investing under an EB5 program. Here I may say that there are some misconceptions about the regional center, and I would like to clarify what those misconceptions are. First and foremost, and that's very important to understand and appreciate, that many people feel or understand that just because a regional center has been approved by United States Immigration Services, that means that particular regional center is approved by US government or state government, and hence it's a risk-free investment. That is a huge misconception. What must be understood is that all that USICS or United States Immigration Services is doing is it's basically approving the project for the purposes of accepting EB5 applications under the EB5 green card program. That's it. It's not in any way saying that if you invest in a regional center which has been approved by us, we give full guarantee of the success of the regional center, or the monies that you invest, they are in any ways guaranteed by the United States government or any state government, or for that matter by United States Immigration Services. So the approval is only for the purposes of accepting EB5 applications or EB5 investment under the program. Nothing more, nothing less. It does not in any way means that the government or the department has in any way guaranteed the success of the program. As a matter of fact, almost all or majority EB5 programs, approved programs that exist or are in operation today, they are privately maintained or controlled. Even where there is in some small ways state governments are involved in establishing a regional center, the monies that are used by even such regional centers are invested into private enterprises. So that's again very important. So when these regional centers are investing the the EB5 funds in the private investment, so again the money is always at risk. So it's very important to understand that when you invest in regional center, money will continue to be at risk just because it is approved for accepting funds under the EB5 program will not does not in any means guarantee of success by US government or by United States Immigration Services or any other entity for that matter. It also is very critical and important to understand in terms of investment into regional center that just because you invest in regional center and because the project has been approved earlier by USICS, it does not in any way means that the I-526 application or the petition that you file for approval of your green card will automatically be approved by the USICS, United States Immigration Services. No, that's not the case. It'll still be, each application will still be reviewed on its merits. As a matter of fact, when making an application for approval of the regional center, the entity makes many claims what it's going to do that will create jobs. So United States Immigration Services will at any point of time check that the commitment that are made by the regional center while taking approval of the business plan are being met by the regional center at all times, and where required they may seek amendment in the overall business plan of the regional center if they are not convinced. Everything considered, regional center is a great way to invest, but the primary definition of EB5 Green Investor Green Card, that money should always be at risk. So that primary requirement will continue to be very much valid irrespective of whether you invest through regional center or apply to you do direct investment. As we move forward in this presentation, this video, we'll talk more about the difference and the advantages and disadvantages of direct investment or regional center. In between the two, which one is better and which one is it that you should be following. There are so many aspects that are related to an EB5 application. A simple presentation is just not good enough to clarify all the doubts, all the queries, and give you all the information. So feel free to write to me at Ajay, AJAY, @abhinavabhinav.com, and feel free to ask me any more questions or seek any additional guidance. I repeat, AJAY, Ajay, at abhinavabhinav.com. You can also visit our website at www.abhinavabhinav.com. We are among world's premier web immigration subject websites, or one of the most followed immigration blogs all across the world. We were just now talking about regional center and its related aspects. How does one really invest into regional center? As you know, a regional center, let's say, comes out with a project. That particular project requires X million dollars of investment. Then the regional center breaks it into different shares of $500,000 each and sells it to various EB5 investors. So how does, really speaking, one gets into and become part of the regional center? Well, what happens is this. When you invest in regional center, you become a limited partner in the regional center. The regional center makes you a limited partner in a limited partnership formed under the Uniform Limited Partnership Act, ULPA, of a particular state. What you do is that, when you become a limited partner, you receive all the rights and obligation as a limited partner. ULPA contains standard provisions to protect the interest of the limited partners, and that benefit even you get. Basically, a limited partnership into an EB5 investor program, when one invests in the regional program, offers three basic rights. What are those basic rights? Number one, it permits participation in the policy related decisions that's outlined and mentioned in the limited partnership agreement that's signed by the investor with the regional center. So it meets one primary criteria, eligibility conditions for EB5 visa, that the investor should be involved in the management of the new commercial enterprise or the commercial enterprise in which he makes an investment in. So by investing in a regional center and by becoming a limited partner, he or she gets rights on policy related decisions and thus meets that requirement. So that's one key right. The second is that because the investor is a limited partner, so it limits the liabilities of the investor in that particular business to $500,000 or $500,000, nothing more, nothing less. So if that business makes money, you get an advantage to the extent of your holding in particular business. But if that business loses money, your exposure will never go beyond $500,000. And last and most importantly, as a limited partner, you are within rights to make suggestions to the general partner and also ask him questions related to progress of the project in which investment has been made. So to that extent, you can indeed protect your investment and ask all the right questions that from time to time about that particular investment that you have done as a limited partner into the regional center. Finally, while all these are rights, do not forget that you are in the end a limited partner, and being a limited partner, being the partnership agreement has multiple investors and a structured agreement, and to that extent the rights are indeed limited. What primarily one should understand and appreciate is that when you are investing into the EB5 program and you are using the regional center route, because that's always a question that's asked. I'm investing into the regional center. The money is being used by somebody else to make investment. Money is not in my control. Money can be used in any ways. I'm not sure whether I'll get it back or not. All these are very valid points, but then in the end you're getting a green card. So do keep in mind that again, as we move forward, we'll talk at length about difference between direct investment and a conditional green card. We'll talk about the direct investment and investing through a regional center. So while we'll talk about the difference between the two at a later stage, again, investing through a regional center while offering you limited rights does have an advantage, a huge advantage. Your risk is also limited to the extent of investment, number one, and number two, should the regional center be able to provide you that peace of mind by creating those 10 direct and indirect jobs, your headache and your further investments are not required to meet that requirement, and your condition gets easily waived off. And in the end, even if you get part of those funds that you invest, or even if you get the principal amount back after the 5 or 6 years of exit agreement that normally these regional centers have, you met your objective. You started an alternate business that you wanted to do that's making money, or you started doing some job, so you're earning through that. Your kids are studying and getting settled in USA. So all those overall benefits are being met at a very minimum exposure of $500,000 that you risk. Yes, but it's a controlled risk, and it's not an unlimited risk. And in return, you get a US green card, which is a very, very premium status to have. So in the process of investing in a regional center, if you lose some money or not the entire principal amount comes back to you, you just paid certain cost. There are programs, for example, a very popular program in Canadian immigrant investor program that used to be there. Now in those programs, people pay a financed amount of at times of up to $200,000, which effectively is a cost just to take the permanent resident status. Now in this particular instance, there's no exact cost that's attached. You may get the entire $500,000 back and even get some return back on it if the business does well. So that's an advantage you have. And if come back with certain reduction because business is taking more time or made less money, that's all right. You got your green card. So just have a very, very balanced view when investing under the regional program. That's what I'm trying to say. Do not let the fact that money is not in your control, do not let that blacken out your sight to the ultimate goal that you have, that is of getting the American green card. Having crisscrossed this covered these some of these major issues related to what is a regional center, what is EB5, and the benefits. Let's now get into briefly into what is the step-by-step process for making an application under EB5 and ultimately getting the green card. Well, first and foremost, the EB5 investor applicant needs to decide whether he wants to make a direct investment and manage the business under EB5 visa, or wants to make investment under the regional program. If one wishes to make a direct investment, then the process is long, I may add. The process is long simply on one ground, because first you will make many trips to USA to decide what business you want to do. You will make a business plan, and till such time you have not selected the business in which you want to directly invest in and manage, the process doesn't even start. So if you wish to decide to make a direct investment, then your first stop is decide what business you want to do, and in the process, after you decided the business, only then you can make an investment. Keep that in mind. So whatever time it may take you 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to decide on the business which you want to do and make direct investment in. In some instances, choosing the direct business in which you want to invest in may itself take 1 to 2 years, and in the process you lose very, very crucial time. So if you decide to have a direct investment, then it starts with choosing which business you want to directly invest in. Till such time you are not chosen that business, the process does not move forward. If you decide that you've decided to invest in a regional center, then do your research and select the regional center ASAP. And deciding on the regional center is, actually speaking, if one really applies mind, it's not that difficult a decision. It's actually speaking, you need to look at 3 or 4 key factors in deciding which could be the right regional center. First and foremost, do not say no to a regional center just because it's new. Some of the so-called long-standing regional centers may have lousy projects, and some new regional center may have an excellent project which may give you future high returns, and which may in fact be able to meet the requirement of job creation more convincingly than a so-called old center. So again, have a balance. Choose a regional center based on the business plan that a regional center has, and how convinced are you on job creation capability of that particular regional center. Number 2, look at the promoters. Who are the promoters of the regional center? More convincing is the background of the promoters of a regional center, more are the chances that that particular regional center will be successful in due course. And lastly, you could also choose the regional center based on the past track record. Some of the regional centers by now have good past track record, and are able to prove that they are able to meet the job creation requirement convincingly. However, that is no guarantee that their future projects will also meet that requirement. So again, have an unbiased approach, a very well balanced approach in choosing the regional center. But in between the promoters and the business plan, you should be able to decide which is the regional center in which you would like to invest in. At Abhinav, we do continuously keep an eye on regional centers that keep on coming in, and we'll be able to direct your attention to some of the regional centers that you may consider. But I say a big but here, you must make the decision yourself. Our role will be to identifying these centers. Whether or not to identify in these regional centers, the choice will be totally yours, the decision will be totally yours, the risk will be totally yours. We can shortlist some of them based on our own research, but choice, decision, risk is all yours. Keep that in mind. We are there to help you out. We cannot be you. That's very important to appreciate. So now you have decided to decided on the regional center in which you want to invest in. At this stage, you will appoint an attorney. That particular attorney will coordinate with the regional center and also help you out in preparing the application forms, the I-526 petition as it's called. So the attorney will prepare the I-526 petition for you, and normally these attorneys charge in the range of USD $15,000 to $20,000. It's very important when you're signing an attorney to identify and have in black and white the scope of services that particular attorney will provide. So ordinarily the scope of services should include services right till the time the conditions on the green card application are waived. So it should include all these services till that stage. So do look at the scope of services that particular attorney is permitting doing for you against that fee of $15,000 to $20,000 that he is charging. Normally this fee is not refundable. I-526 application before it's filed, as requirement of the I-526 application, you are required to deposit funds. Now these funds are divided in two parts. One is that you will, again it differs from regional center to regional center, but there is an administration fee that all regional centers charge. You can call it administration, you can call it marketing, you can call it all referral costs that are involved in executing a particular project. So the particular fee of around $40,000 to $60,000 that has to be deposited into the account of the regional center. These funds are normally refundable should your I-526 application be refused. But if I-526 petition is approved, then these funds are not refundable under any circumstances. You at this stage will also, and I'm talking of prior to I-526 application petition, you at this stage will also, deposit $500,000, the requirement, into the designated escrow account. These funds are transferred from the escrow account to the regional center account only if and after the I-526 petition is approved. But these funds must reach USA. These funds must be in the escrow account as part of the I-526 petition requirements. You cannot say that I'll transfer the funds after my application is approved. EB5 process works in a different way. You first show evidence of funds transfer in states, and then as part of the I-526 application, that particular evidence is recorded, and only then the application is processed. Along with that, you will sign all the escrow funds evidence, the administration fee transfer. You will at this stage also give non-refundable application fee of around USD 1,500 as petition fee for I-526, and this fee, I may add, is subject to change without notice, and that will accompany the application. The I-526 application process will take somewhere around 6 to 9 months, and that's a normal application processing time. Should there be demand for additional evidence, at times the department asks for more documents, more information, or a clarification, so that can add on to 3 to 6 months more. But overall, 6 to 9 months is the minimum time frame one should look at in processing of application for I-526, and not less. It can be somewhere around 12 to 18 months time if there are any requests for further evidence receipt for your application. So filing a complete I-526 application initially, a good 5 to 6 application with all the recorded evidence and documents is critically important to ensure there is a reduced time frame. After your I-526 application is approved, the funds are transferred from the escrow account to the limited partnership of the regional center, and then you have, if you are within USA on a legitimate status, so you can then file for adjustment of status to EB5 green card with the United States Immigration Services, or alternatively you can, if you are outside of USA, that is in your country, then you can you have to apply for the EB5 green card in the nearest consulate office, When you will file for the EB5 green card, yeah, that's basically called change of status. At that particular time, you will file, and the application, there's an application fee of almost like USD 1070 for each per person, and for children below 14 years around USD 635. So overall, if it's a family of 4, you could plan for somewhere around $3,500 to $4,000 as a fee that will go with application for adjustment of status, or the application that will go for issuance of your EB5 status to the nearest consulate. Then now you have the EB5, you are ready to fly off to USA. You fly off to USA, and it will normally, after 21 months, you will file what's called I-829 application. This particular I-829 application is basically meant to remove the condition of 10 jobs creation, and this application is filed with USICS. So the regional center at this stage will provide evidence those jobs have been created, and such an application normally goes with a fee of around $3,835 for the applicant and spouse, and USD 85 for each conditional residence child. So overall, you should be prepared for application fee of around $4,500 to $5,000 even at this stage of getting your conditions removed. All these fees that I'm talking about are subject to change without any notice, and they are within the preview of USICS. Now let's talk about one of the most hotly debated topics in the EB5 visa context, and in fact one of the key decisions which an EB5 investor has to take, and mostly it's a decision that takes the maximum time, and also one is not able to take this decision so convincingly. Now, what is that particular point? That particular point is what is better for an investor applicant? Should he make a direct individual EB5 application, meaning should he make a direct investment of $1 million, or should he instead, as far as the EB5 green card is concerned, go through the regional center route? Again, let's just go back to what a direct investment EB5 is. It is a situation where you do not invest through a regional center, and you wish to meet the requirement of EB5 visa investment by investing directly into a new commercial enterprise that is either directly owned by you, or by your wife, or jointly. Such a new business can even be in partnerships or collaboration with US citizens or green card holders. So primarily what you do is you directly invest into a new enterprise, either as a sole owner or in partnership with others. And so long as you do the minimum investment of $1 million under a direct investment route, or for that matter even $500,000 investment by investing into targeted employment area, such a particular business, if you are doing in collaboration with other Americans or green card holders, it's not a must that you hold a majority stake. You could even have a minor stake in a commercial enterprise, so long as you do the minimum investment of $1 million or $500,000 if you are investing into a targeted employment area. What are the advantages if you do investment, meet the EB5 visa requirement by making direct investment? What are the advantages? Now, one key advantage, and that's a real reason why majority of investors, majority of applicants, EB5 applicants even think of making direct investment, is that you have full control over your investments and on the American business that you start. So you feel that being a direct owner or part owner of that business, you can control the funds and how they are utilized, and also you have satisfaction of managing the affairs of the business on day to day. That's a huge advantage, an advantage you surely do not have in a regional center, because in a regional center at best you can be part of the policy making decision, but surely not day to day management of its affairs, or for that matter funds that are invested. You can all the profits that are generated, and that's the second advantage when you go through a direct investment route. All the profits that are generated by this business, they're all yours. So you are assured of a return. If that business makes money, you can even be assured that you are making money out of that investment, not only getting an EB5 card, green card, but you're also getting return on the business investment that you do. But do not forget that even losses are yours. Business may not always make money, but to start with, as an advantage, clearly if the business generates profit, no doubt the money is all yours. And also, we are all familiar with a term called goodwill. You spend your time, money and resources and energy on starting, initiating, running and managing a business. So over a period of time the value of the business goes up. So it's not only the money returns in the immediate future we are talking about, it's also goodwill gets multiplied of that business, and that's another advantage that one has, that goodwill can be encashed at a later stage if that business does really well. So that's a second advantage one has. Third advantage that is that such a direct investment in the EB5 program brings in is that after your conditions have been waived, you can sell part or whole of the business and make money. That's again a huge advantage you have. And of course it goes without saying that because you are managing on day-to-day basis, so you can keep a very close eye on that fact that whether jobs are being created or not. Those jobs are created, then to that extent the uncertainty of a conditional waiver, when your condition on the green card is to be waived after 21 months, that uncertainty whether the jobs are created or not it does not exist. It goes away when one is managing the business himself, if one is sure about creating jobs in the first instance. You can also invest into a new business, or you can invest in an existing business so long as it meets job creation requirements. So these in summary are the advantages of a situation where you go through direct investment. In nutshell, you are managing the business yourself, you are supervising the job creation yourself, you are earning and taking home the profits that the business brings in, and you can also take a minor stake if you want in a business so long as you meet the minimum requirements. Now, what are the disadvantages if you file an application under direct EB5 rather than in a regional center? First and foremost, it's very easy to say I'm going to invest and in a business myself and manage it. But what's your need? You want an EB5 card. And then this particular program is open only for 3 years until September 2015. Keep that in mind at this stage. And first, how long are you going to take to decide which business are you going to invest in? How many visits to USA will it take for you to decide which business you are going to invest in? How much of attorney fee are you going to pay, or accounting fee you are going to pay to an accountant to, really speaking, get the fair value of the business in which you want to invest in? How much time, in your opinion, you are going to take before you can finally decide on which business you are going to invest in? All these things are important, because remember, EB5 program, you must file along with your I-5 to 6 petition your business plan, how it's going to create jobs, which business you're going to invest in. So how much time it's going to take, and how the cost that you may incur in simply choosing the business that you want to invest in, something you should consider. There are so many indirect and direct costs that you will incur in choosing the business in the first place, so that $500,000 that you are trying to save by investing in regional center, you may be, to start off, to have a business plan for a direct investment, and choosing it itself, you may be investing a good amount of money to select that business that you want to invest in. So the entire responsibility of the EB5 application process, the documentation, including business plan, dealing and coordinating with attorney, the immigration agency lies with you. In case of a regional center, the regional center has done all the work for you. They have done the business plan, they have taken the required approvals. USICS is familiar with what the center is going to do and how they are going to create jobs. In this particular instance where you are doing the direct investment, you must hire an attorney, you must hire an accountant to make a business plan, and the entire responsibility of taking the required approval for the USIC from USICS to make this particular investment as part of the EB5 program lies with you. And this application may even face refusal if documentation and the business plan is not convincing on many counts. So you may go all the way, do all the research, take all the precautions, and still it may not be found to be good enough by USICS as an EB5 plan. So your application may not be accepted. So you have to take that risk into account. In case of a regional center, that risk does not exist because the approvals have already been received by the regional center for that particular project that they want to carry out under EB5 program for which you will do your investment. And what are we trying to do essentially? I come back to the same point. So when we are trying to avoid investing in regional center, what are we trying to do? What we are trying to do is we are trying to save to secure that investment of $500,000. But that $500,000, let's say we are trying to save, and to reach the stage of getting an EB5 approval for the purpose of filing the application, let's say that by that stage itself you incur a cost of $100,000. You can incur that cost. You are paying to an accountant. You are making different exploratory visits to choose such a business. You are boarding, lodging during such visits. Your fee to the attorney to do due diligence. Your fee to the accountant to do due diligence on the business that you want to invest in. So the starting point could itself be cost of $100,000, where that one could factor in towards around $100,000, I may add. So from $500,000 that you are trying to save, straightway you are incurring to startup cost itself of around $100,000 in a direct EB5 application. So you need to decide, really speaking, whether you want to really speaking take the initiative of investing under direct EB5 on this direct investment on this key ground. Even when let's say some people say that we will also do direct investment, but we'll also go through targeted employment route and just invest $500,000. Very good. But who's going to identify the area in which you're going to have that investment is a target employment area? Identifying a targeted employment area itself is a onerous and a very difficult task, and again you'll be incurring costs in identifying such a solution, and not an easy task to identify such an area. Let me just put it that simply. Responsibility of running and managing the entire enterprise lies with you in this particular case. You say fine, I'll happily do it, but the nature of clients that we deal with for EB5 process are very different. Most of them have they're running businesses, hugely successful enterprises in the country in which they already are in. And do you think it's going to be easy for you to manage your American business successfully and at the same time keep your give equal time to your current businesses or operations in the country in which you are in? So that's one factor. And secondly, running and managing an enterprise, you're familiar with the current business environment in the country you are in right now. But US is a different environment altogether. So managing and running direct initiative is not easy. In a new environment is not very easy, so to that extent you are increasing your risk, not reducing, by taking full responsibility for running and managing the enterprise. And if you feel that you can reduce this risk by hiring local professionals and executives, well, they are expensive. That brings on to the next key area, that to create those 10 direct jobs is your responsibility. EB5 program does not permit you, if you're going through direct investment route, that you can take advantage of 10 indirect jobs that are created, an advantage that lies with a regional center. And if you have any idea about American economy, the wages, the salaries, the minimum wages and salaries, and then the social security benefits and all the related issues that an employer requirements that employer must meet, regulatory requirements the employer must meet, you will realize that creating 10 direct jobs is not going to be an easy task. You really need to be running a business of a good size to be able to create 10 direct jobs. It's going to be very, very tough, very, very difficult. And just look at it this way, you're going to create those 10 jobs so that you can get your condition waived. And in the process, you may end up hiring staff that you do not need. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to save some money in $500,000 regional donor investment, center investment. You're trying to save some money just because you want to have control over managing the business, just for that reason. But in the process, what you end up doing is you may end up hiring many people that you do not need and incurring actual business losses because you're hiring people you do not need. You're having overheads that you do not need to incur in the first place, and you end up multiplying your losses in the business that you're directly managing. So you're trying to safeguard your $500,000 invested through regional center. So you ended up investing huge amounts in creating a business plan in the first place, in identifying a business. Then you run the risk of losing further money by trying to hire 10 Americans or green card holders just to meet the job creation requirement so that you can get the condition waived. It's maybe easily said than done. And mind you, $1 million investment is a minimum investment requirement. If in a targeted employment area, that's a minimum investment. But you speak to somebody who's been in States, who is a successful businessman in USA for some time, and he will tell you that it may not be easy to have 10 employees and running a $1 million business. So what may in fact mean is that you may end up investing much more than $1 million or a $500,000 in a targeted employment area. It may not stop there. So you started with thinking that I'm going to invest $1 million, but your actual project costs may go up to $1.5 million, $200, $2 million, depending on the scope and size of the business, just because you're required to hire and create more jobs just to meet the conditional waiver requirements after 21 months. So that's a huge, huge risk that you may have just because you want to directly manage a business. You need to be very, very cautious of it. These are some of the key issues in this particular case. I may also add, a regional center, for example, has an advantage. So it works through two ways. It can either invest into equity of an investment or a business that they're investing in. It can even loan out to another commercial enterprise that's creating jobs, loan out funds. So for a regional center to meet the job creation requirement becomes easy because they can even loan out to other enterprises that may have successful business plans. Whereas you don't have that advantage. You cannot loan out to a third party under the direct investment proposition. You must invest directly and you must manage that business yourself. You can, like I said, regional center can count indirect jobs that are created. You cannot do that. You have to create, you have no option but to have 10 jobs directly created by you. It brings me to a very, very interesting aspect finally when you're trying to decide between a direct and a regional center option. What exactly are you looking for when you're looking for an American green card? You ask your children, you speak to your friends, and you will say that, oh, you know what, I want to live in a city like New York, I want to stay in Los Angeles, California. So you want to live in populated societies, right? So you say that I'll invest into targeted employment area. They are rural areas, or they are areas with huge unemployment. So you can rest assured they are not the big cities that you're talking about. So what are you doing? And then most of the time when you do through a direct investment route, you have to basically, if you go through the targeted employment area route and want to invest $500,000, you have to basically live in those very thinly populated areas which are not as developed as bigger cities and not that secure also. So do you want to make such a huge investment also and live in areas of United States which you may not have ever thought of doing in the first place? So do you want to do that just because you want to invite the regional center route to EB5? And if you carefully review all these points that I've just discussed with you, you will realize that you will clearly get to the reason why 95% of the people, investors into the EB5 program, or more than 95% go through a regional center route and not through the direct investment route. Essentially, in nutshell, the costs that get associated by investing through a direct route can be on multiple counts and can be much more than the inconvenience that you are trying to avoid by investing into a regional center. And over a long term, those costs are much more than the savings that you may try to make by avoiding to make investment through a regional center. Now, EB5, the very success of your application depends on whether you can create, or the business in which you invest in, or regional center you invest in, creates those 10 direct or indirect full-time jobs or not. Now, what is a full-time job? Basically, a full-time job implies work for at least 35 hours a week. And the important thing to remember here is that a particular position is filled up for 2 years. It's not really important as to who occupies. So multiple people over a period of time could be working the same position, and that particular position will still meet the requirement of having one job created. So one person joined in, the other one joined in, so long as that particular position was maintained, more than one person could be working over a period of time. But keep in mind one thing, that this person has to be an employee of the business and not the contractor. You hire a contractor, you say that as part of the construction activity that you are carrying out, you hired a contractor who in turn hired 5 plumbers, 5 electricians. Well, you cannot count those jobs of 5 plumbers, 5 electricians who are on the role of the contractor. That's not permissible. So you need to have an employee. So if you have plumbing position that is maintained over a couple of years, maybe it was filled up by different plumbers coming in from time to time, that's fine. But a plumber or an electrician hired by a contractor to whom you contracted out the job will not be counted as a job created. So keep in mind that people, the personnel who can be counted as a full-time employee in any position needs to be an employee of the business in which you have invested in, or the regional center in controlled business, and not the contractor. That can never be counted. And an issue that's coming in of focus on late is there are many EB5 projects which are hotel projects, or which are resort projects, or which are office building projects. An issue that's really happens, especially in case of hotel projects, is that they claim that new visitor arrivals are the reasons why new jobs will be created. So now USICS requires them, hotels, to prove in their business plan, indeed the new or additional visitor arrival does happen because of that new project in which the EB5 center invested in. Just because visitors, instead of going to an already existing hotel or resort, started coming to a new resort or hotel that is established, that doesn't mean that new jobs have been created. So primarily the business plan of the regional center should be able to prove that the investment process does lead to increased spending in that particular area by the new visitors or the additional visitors. So that's very important for you to really look into when you're investing into a hotel project or a resort project. You must ask this particular question of that particular regional center. Is it creating increased visitor spending, is it creating new and additional visitor arrival or not? And to that extent, the business plan should be very carefully reviewed by you. Ideally, the jobs created by the project from construction, because most of these hotels and resort projects involve construction, should create positions for at least 2 years. And having said that, we are talking about increased visitor spending or additional visitor arrival is one thing, but still these hotel and resort projects can indeed claim jobs that are happening on account of construction, and or for that matter jobs that are created for the purposes of operations and management of hotel or resort. So that can still be counted towards job creation. So you could look at that viewpoint also. Real estate that's acquired part of an EB5 investment, that can be counted as an investment, but normally real estate, simply buying a real estate does not really speaking lead to job creation. So when you are looking at a business plan provided by the regional center, you should look closely at it, how much of part of it is being invested in buying real estate actually, because that part may not be permitted to claim job creation by US ICS. So while investment is permitted, the job creation it's very difficult to relate additional job creation by in the portion of investment that's done on buying the real estate. And initially itself, the business plan should clearly indicate the EB5 funds that will be invested in acquiring property. That should be real estate, that should be clearly identified. You can always, like I said earlier, do the EB5 investment in partnership with the American citizen or a green card holder. You could even have a minor share and not necessarily majority share, so long as you are meeting the minimum investment requirement. And a huge advantage when you invest in such joint collaboration, businesses of such joint collaborations, is that the jobs that are created by investment that are done by citizens or green card holder or your other collaborators, so those jobs can also be counted towards your share of job creation. So that's a huge advantage you have. An issue that's been under a lot of controversy of late is tenancy occupation. Now, tenancy occupation, basically what happened was that there were many regional center projects which essentially were into office building or shopping malls that were being constructed as part of the regional center initiative or the project. But what in opinion of USICS, what was happening was that, let's say you have an office complex or you have a shopping mall. So in their opinion, only thing that was happening was that tenants basically in that shopping mall or in that office, so they were shifting from one building to another, or they were shifting from one mall to another, and the employees working in the other mall or the other office building were shifting to another. So basically the objection of United States Immigration Services was that they are not creating any additional jobs. And to that extent, the business plan, all future business plans must clearly identify how that particular new building being created or being constructed, or the shopping mall being constructed, will lead to additional jobs in that particular area. That's critically important from tenancy controversy point of view. That's very important for you to ask. So if you are investing in an office in a regional center that's claiming that it's investing in an office complex or it's investing in a shopping mall, so you should ask this very key question from tenancy controversy point of view: how exactly is it that particular business model being talked about will create those additional jobs, and how is United States Immigration Services going to be convinced discount? The regional centers are addressing this issue in many ways, and they are right now making projections in a manner to show how a specific space project, office or hotel or shopping mall, will correct the market imperfections in the area and will generate new labor demand and income that will result in prospective number of tenant jobs that will locate in that particular new building or shopping mall. So it becomes, I may add, in high unemployment area or rural areas to prove that these kind of relocations are not happening. It is very difficult because in a thinly populated area as it is, the limited demand, and how many new jobs can be created in that limited demand area, how many new shopping malls can it take, how many new office buildings can, all these issues are important when you look at the business model or the project of the regional center. You should ask all these questions, right questions from tenancy, occupancy point of view. When a regional center is now making an application, so they do look at these issues carefully and identify and highlight the underlying assumptions for approval of tenancy dependent additional jobs that will be created. So, but these projections, underlying assumptions should be part of the additional business plan itself. Extremely difficult to address this situation at a later stage when I-5 to 6 applications are questioned by USICS. And also another issue is USICS very carefully looks at additional job claims that are being made by different regional centers by similar projects in the same area. So, let us say there are 3 different regional centers, each one of them is making one shopping mall and each shopping mall is coming in the same area, and each one is saying that we will create additional jobs. USICS is going to question this. How 3 new shopping malls are going to create all these 3 additional jobs. So, you should also perhaps ask this question of the regional center in which you are going to invest in. Are there some other regional centers in the area who are into similar business concept and are similar claims being made, and how secure is your regional center project from that viewpoint? And this is very, very critical. Another question that's very important to the EB5 investors or USICS is there's a little bit of ambiguity on when these EB5 jobs should really be created. Now, how it is defined is that first and foremost, it's very important for you to understand what is that particular period that we are talking about. It's normally assumed that post I-5 to 6 approvals, it takes another 6 months for adjustment of status to green card. So, ideally one is talking about considering that you have 2 years to show that those jobs are created, and 6 months it takes for adjustment of status after I-5 to 6 approval. So, ideally a person has approximately 2.5 years to create those jobs from the time of I-5 to 6 approval, and it's normally expected that the claimed jobs are created by the time I-8 to 9 applications are filed, or, now this is very important to understand, or within a reasonable time thereafter. So, the way it is defined, it's not really a must that those jobs are direct or indirect jobs are created. For example, a project might be under construction for those 2 years. Some job creation happens during the construction phase, but a lot of job creation happens after the construction is done, because people move in after construction is done. So, that may happen over 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So, in the underlying assumption itself, it should be clarified in the business plan, the time frame within which those jobs will be created. So, even where, for example, you are talking about various underlying assumptions, economic methodologies that are used by regional centers to prove that those jobs will be created during or within the reasonable time thereafter. So, those assumptions should be as per USICS parameters. So, you check that with the regional center that the economic methodology that they use to prove that job creation will take place, is it as per one of the permitted methodologies of USICS or not. So, that's, I think, is critically important. But for the moment, for what it's important for you to realize that the jobs created even after 2 years can be counted, so long as the USICS is convinced that they will be created within the reasonable time thereafter I-8 to 9 is filed. Many cases may claim petition normally claims jobs will be created after a certain minimum investment is done. So job creation is linked by the regional center to the minimum investment that it does. So presented in the petition, that's filed to get the approval for the plan. If that minimum investment is done by the time I-829 is happening, so again USIC will approve it, because minimum investment was one of the key criteria for job creation, and that minimum investment was indeed done by the center. So that's one important aspect you can look into again, that what is a minimum investment is in the methodology that's filed by the regional center. Is minimum investment one of the key areas? So that's equally important. USICS may remove the condition on your I-829 application even if the minimum investment has been done, and job creation, significant job creation may take after minimum investment has been done. Your I-829 may still be approved. A petition may claim creation of a number of direct jobs after a significant number of direct jobs have been created. There are two kinds of jobs: indirect jobs and direct jobs. What are indirect jobs? Indirect jobs are basically that are created because of that particular investment that has been done. You have a particular situation where your business is running, but to make supplies to your store or to your business, an additional transporter is required, or an additional printer is required in the area who is servicing your company. So that's an indirect job that's been created. And so petition identifies the indirect jobs that will be created because of direct jobs that have been created, and even that's looked at by USICS to give I-29 approval. So you can look into those aspects also while taking a regional center approval, identifying which regional center is required. Proof of job creation is required at the time of I-829 application. If jobs have not been created by 829 application is filed, by the time I-829 application is filed, then the officer will apply the 51% rule in determining whether or not jobs will be created. What it means is, if he is convinced about likelihood of creation of these jobs within a reasonable period of time, then I-829 will be approved, otherwise denied. Both ways, decision on 829 application will be taken, and officer is not supposed to keep such a decision pending, waiting for jobs to be created. So either they will approve the I-829 application, assuming that the job will be created, and if not, it will be denied. The decision will be taken. So it's very important for you to file an I-829 application considering the job creation aspect is properly addressed. One of the key requirements, we are now going to talk about the very ground on which an EB5 application can be refused or accepted. In fact, this particular issue of source and path of funds under the EB5 application is one of the key determinants around which most of the applications face a lot of resistance as far as USICS decision is concerned. They may decide or not to. You may choose the best regional center. You may have the best business plan. The business plan may be able to prove that the direct jobs will be created, indirect jobs will be created. You may meet all these requirements, but then the requirement of funds that are used to make the EB5 investment is the key determinant of whether an I-526 application will be approved or disapproved. You do not meet these requirements convincingly, and your application will be refused, irrespective of how well planned your application is on other grounds. Now, what is source and path of funds as far as EB5 application is concerned? Let's look at divide in two parts. Number one is source of funds. First, the source of funds you have to prove is from where the investment is being made. How did you get those funds which you are investing? You could have earned those funds. So if you say you earned those funds, where did you earn those funds from? You say, I've sold a property to get those funds. Okay, how did you make that property? You have to prove how did you make that property. In nutshell, the entire trail through which you, really speaking, earned that particular asset, liquid, non-liquid, the proceeds of which are used to make that $500,000 investment, it's very, very important for you to be able to prove that how did you get those funds, how did you source those funds, how was that particular asset earned, the first and foremost stage, first and foremost thing that you must be able to convincingly prove. I mean, typically, we do narrations. So in those narrations, we will identify when did you buy a particular property, for how much did you buy that particular property. In context of most of the developing economies where there is the registered value of the property is much less than the actual value that's paid, it's most of the time you have to prove the registered value, how did you pay the registered value. So maybe you basically bought that property by taking loans. That's all right. You did it out of the proceeds of the gifts that were taken from family members. That's also fine. You just need to be able to explain how, really speaking, generated those funds which were bought to buy a property or otherwise another asset. So that's one key requirement. You should be able to provide a narration of how the assets were created to prove your source of funds. It's very important to understand, and one key aspect here, that unsecured personal loans are normally not permitted as part of an EB5 application source of funds. Gifts are permitted, but not unsecured loans. That's very important for you to understand where the money is gifted to you. For example, even your 22-year-old son may be entitled to file, or daughter may be entitled to file an EB5 application through the money that you are gifting to your child. But then in that case you have gifted, so based on that the application can be filed, but as part of the application it has to be reflected how did you earn that money in the first place which you gifted to the child. So you might have inherited an asset from parents. That particular property that you inherited from the parents you sold, and the proceeds of which were invested in EB5, that's fine. But you should be able to reasonably be able to explain, because at times it can go into decades. The property might have been bought by your parents from whom you inherited decades back. So at times it becomes very difficult to prove how is it that your parent earned that particular property in the first place, how did they make that property in the first place. But a reasonable narration should be provided even in case of inheritance on how did parents come to occupy that particular property or own that particular property which was inherited by you. Kind of a chain, part of proving source of funds. Gifts, yes. Inheritance, yes. Ownership through personal earnings, yes. All these should be properly documented to the maximum possible extent through bank documents or otherwise bank receipts, property ownership documents, the wills, the inheritance, the gift deed. All those documents should be very much part of the documentation that you provide along with your I-526 application. Now comes the path of funds. So you have proved that your source of funds is legitimate. Then comes the path of funds. How do you transfer those funds to your escrow account in USA? Should be through legitimate routes. It should ideally be coming out of your own account. Yes, let's say some countries there's a limit on foreign exchange transfers that can be done from one person's account, as per central banking requirements. You may transfer using the bank account. The principal applicant may use the bank account of another relation, spouse, child, but the money should initially flow from the account of the principal applicant. That's very important. And then it should flow through regular banking channels or regular financial channels, which clearly confirm that you are following a legal route for transfer of funds. Should the United States Immigration Services not be satisfied, there are all the possible options that are available, legitimate options that are available to transfer these funds. But any kind of unlawful activity that's carried out to transfer such funds, and it's highly and it's not convincing. You're transferring using your own legitimate funds, or you're transferring using illegitimate means, that particular application can be refused. So taking guidance of a professional, a good attorney, a good consultant, so that you do not take a wrong step in meeting source and path fund of requirements is very, very critically important. Having discussed the source and path of funds, it brings us to another critical aspect. What are the documents one must one must submit with the I-526 application? Because you have the source and path of funds. How do you prove that source and path of funds? It's lawful, it's legitimate. You prove it through the proper documents that you file with your I-526 application. What are those documents? What can be those documents? First and foremost, a few pointers that as a consultant we may like to advise you is what's important to understand, what's important to prove here is show funds, their source and path equivalent of the investment that you do. So you're talking about, let's say your net worth otherwise is $10 million. USICS is not bothered about, United States Immigration Services is not bothered about your lawful source of accumulation of your net worth of $10 million. They would like to know how did you acquire the minimum requirement of $1 million. So what you have to really speaking focus on proving is $1 million equivalent of minimum net worth that you have acquired and its source. How did you acquire that? What you have to focus on and what you have to prove is lawful and legitimate transfer of $500,000, and that's it. You don't have to prove, there is no need to talk about your whole net worth. You should need to focus only on number one, the minimum net worth, and number two, the amount that's required to be transferred, the minimum account that's required to be transferred, that's $500,000. So your source and path requirement and meeting this requirement, your focus should be on these two key amounts that must keep in mind. What you need to do is that you should try and provide to the maximum possible the records that you have to prove that you lawfully sourced the net worth that you have. Do not get nervous if you cannot provide all the 100% documents. It's doubtful whether a person, anybody in this world will have all the documents possible to prove the net worth that's generated over a period of time. So to the extent possible, you should provide as much as you can, but if you do not feel that you have all the records available, do not get nervous. The application can still be filed based on the majority of records that you can provide to prove how you earned that particular net worth over a period of time. There is no need for you to lie. There is no need for you to really speaking create documents. Be honest, be straightforward, provide information on that $1 million or $500,000. That's what your focus should be. Do that truthfully. Each country's case may be dealt with differently by USICS because the norms of the way the records are maintained in each country is different. So I think that's also what should be kept in mind when you are getting nervous about whether or not your application will be accepted. Rest assured, the immigration services, the officials are briefed and are quite familiar with the precedents that are followed in different countries. They may differ and they'll be familiar with the system that's followed in your country also. So coming back to it, you must provide as much of records as you can, but the minimum records possible should be provided. And another thing is that even money made by the spouse can be used by another spouse. That's quite acceptable under EB5 requirements in terms of source of funds. And what are the documents that we suggest should be filed to meet the requirement of lawful source? First of all, try and give your tax returns, individual tax returns for at least last 5 years. I think it's critically important to show and prove that you indeed are having legitimate income sources. So try and give your individual, partnership, corporate, financial tax returns for at least 5 years, whether they are audited or unaudited. If they are audited, that's wonderful. even if they are not audited, do provide those financial tax returns. How did you make those investments? So for last 2 years, you can submit records of the investments, various investments that you have done, and related bank statements through which you made those investments. In the business documents, you can give your business registration records, you can give your website ID, you can give your business promotional brochure, you can even show document that show that you are proprietor of the business, or you are director of the business, or you employee of the business. So whatever document which you show that what your relationship of your with that particular business is, you can do that. If you have sold any property or business which led to profit for you, capital gains for you, so you can show documents related to sale of that business or property. You should ideally submit government approved property valuers report or your accountant's report which shows what is the value of your business. So this also could go with your as part of your document. And for each business, you should have a brief summary on what that business does, when it was incorporated, who owns it, what's been the business activity over the years, what's the ownership structure, and other things. As regards real estate, should show the documents which prove how is it that you own that real estate in the first place, and that could include sale deeds, trust deeds, or mortgage documents, purchase and sale document, everything. If you have got your property valued by a government approved valuer, you should attach that with the I-526 application. And if you have rental income, you should, through which you are incurring regular income, you should show those rental and lease deed agreements. And again, for each property, you should provide a summary as part of the application. This should include a summary that provides address of the property, what price you bought it at, and what date you bought it at, for what amount you bought it at, how did you arrange for resources, the fund that were required to buy it. So it should basically, for each property, you should have a summary, and we call it narration. If you are taken a loan to invest in that particular property, then you should provide those loan documents also. Employment, if you have basically been earning your funds that you invested in creating your net worth, you should provide your related income tax returns, salaries, your perhaps tax deduction documents, and your employment contracts, your perhaps you've been covered in some newspapers, magazines. You can include that in your overall profile, that personal profile, your professional profile that you submit along with the application. You may have many other sources of income, including gifts, inheritance, divorce settlements, lawsuit settlements, or you might have won a lottery. So all these you should be properly documented as part of your I-526 application. And lastly, and most importantly, when you transfer the funds into the escrow account, a critical part of your I-526 application will be evidence related to wire transfers, confirmations, deposit slips, and bank statements which show the withdrawal and deposit of funds that were actually transferred. And lastly, the bank letter which confirms the wire transfer. All these are very important to, really speaking, prove the path of fund. Finally, as you would have realized by now, making an EB5 application, making the petition, choosing a regional center, all these, and even subsequent I-8 to 9 application seeking approval of the conditions attached to your green card, it's overall a complicated process. It demands guidance from an experienced consultant. Well, that's what we've been doing for almost 20 years. Our USP is guiding high net worth individuals into making applications for immigration purposes. We understand the business very well. You can always write to me personally at ajay@abhinav.com. It is ajay@abhinav.com, or simply visit our website www.abhinav.com for regular updates on EB5 process, and we'll be pleased to assist you on your dreams of becoming an EB5 green card holder of United States of America. Thank you.